Hey, this is JoJo the HVAC man. Hello out there, HVAC world, morning, noon, night, West Coast, East Coast, on the other side of the planet from me. Thanks for taking time to come and look at what I got for you today. And I think you're going to find it very, very helpful. So what I want to talk to you about is how you can really know what head pressure you should be looking for in order to help you figure out if a system is not operating properly. So without further delay, let's get into it. This is a chart, okay, that tells you several things, which I find extremely exciting. Over here is target superheat. Now, if you have a fixed metering device, and you need to know where the superheat ought to be, then this is your chart. And this is true. It doesn't matter what model unit it is, what brand it is. Target superheat is target superheat no matter what. So if you got a piston or capillary tube system, then what you need to know is what is the condensing entering air. So what's the temperature of the air outside around the condensing unit? And let's just say it's 95 degrees. Okay? And let me blow this up a little bit. Okay? Then you're going to measure the indoor wet bulb coming into the evaporator. And I would highly recommend you take this as close to the evaporator as possible. Make sure you seal up your hole that you got your meter or your probe stuck in so it doesn't suck in hot attic air around it. Very important. Not that I've ever did that and didn't realize it. Yes, I did. So be sure you seal it up around your sensor so you're not sucking in hot air. And let's say you've got a 68 wet bulb, then your target superheat should be 14 degrees. But what if it was more humid because the unit's been off for a while and it's 72 wet bulb, then it would be a 20 degree target superheat. I mean, look at there. You can be as high as 28 degree target superheat because the number one load in the evaporator is the humidity. All right. But I don't want to get stuck on this, although I'd love to talk more about this. I want to point you to the rest of this chart. Here's another really neat part of this chart is it really kind of helps you gauge if you've got the right airflow or not. Okay. So it's looking to see if you've got 400 CFMs a ton. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure the entering air evaporator dry bulb temperature between 68 and 88, okay, and a relative humidity of, so as long as your return air temperature is between 68 degrees and 88 degrees, right? So if you got a 75, 78 return air, boom, you're going to land right in that middle. And then you're going to measure the relative humidity of the air with your probe and your psychrometer. And let's say it was 75 degrees and it was 50% relative humidity. And it's telling you that your dry bulb drop should be between 18 and 21 degrees. Okay, and this is a lot of where people look for. But what they don't understand is that let's say the house has been off for quite a while. You know, it's been down, it's gotten hot, it's gotten humid, and you got the unit up and running again. And it's up there in the 70th percentile or 75% relative humidity. I mean, like it's super stinking humid in there and it's hot. So let's say it's up there around 85 degrees. Well, it's 85 degrees in the house and it's 75% relative humidity. Now your temperature drop is only going to be running around 10 to 16. Probably close to around that middle mark, like around 12 degree temperature drop. And you're going to panic and go, oh no, that's not good. Well, it's because it's so humid. Now, the more humidity you remove, and the further you get down to that target 55% relative humidity, now you're back to your 18 degree split. Or if you get to dead on 50, you might be close to that 20 degree. But I'll tell you this, is that working with manufacturing throughout my 35 years as 12 to 14 of that was a tech rep for manufacturing. Between 16 and 18 dry bulb was great as long as you're removing the humidity as well, okay? So what this is telling you is that if your return air is in this range here and your relative humidity is, say, it's 55%, and you're getting a 14 to 18 degree temperature drop across the coil, you're golden. You got good airflow. How do you increase that? Well, you're going to decrease your airflow from 400 CFMs a ton to 350 CFMs a ton. Now, if you're up in an arid state or in an arid part of the country where, humidity is not an issue, it's all sensible, then you're going to have 450 CFMs per ton. And this chart really is not, you're going to be down here in the 20 to 30%, and you're looking for a much greater temperature drop in order to take care of that sensible. Typically, 400 CFMs a ton is not enough when you get into a very, very, very dry climate for summertime. You can jack it up to 450 a ton. This is just nominal, and it works, and that's what they use when they do capacity charts in your manufacturer stuff. Now, let's get down to right here, okay? Condenser temperature rise. Now, when I was in the field way back early days, back in the early 90s, I heard 30-degree rise across the condenser. And I got in my head that meant that it was taking the outside air temperature, adding 30 to it, and that's what the temperature of the air coming out of the condenser ought to be. So I thought that was like the temperature rise air to air, okay? So if it was 95 outside, you add 30 to that, and I thought the discharge air coming off the top of the condenser should be like 125. And it never came out like that. And I got confused. I never pursued it until I finally got this chart. So what it is that it's not ambient air coming into the outside air getting sucked into the condenser versus the air coming off the condenser. It is the ambient air compared to the saturation temperature of the refrigerant in the condenser. Okay? So, for instance, if you've got an R410A system and you're running, I got me a handy dandy PT chart. Okay, y'all give me a minute. Here we go. All right. So let's say I'm looking at the pressure temperature chart here. I'm going to assume you guys know how to read one. If you don't, we'll do another class on that. Y'all let me know if you need to go over how to read a pressure temperature chart. But anyway, if I got a 346 degree head pressure on an R410A, that means that the refrigerant in the condenser is 106 degrees. Okay? So now let's just remember that. So I got 106 degree saturation temperature. Now, we're going to equate that to pressure. But depending on the efficiency of your unit, it depends on the temperature split that you're looking for. I'll give you an example. If you're on an older 12 SEER unit or 10 SEER unit, now guys, we're going back, my goodness, early 90 models, then we were looking for around a 30-degree split, meaning that if it was 95 degree outside, the saturation temperature of my refrigerant in the condenser should be 30 degrees hotter so we can get that heat rejection. So I'd be looking for a saturation temperature of 125 degrees, and on my PT chart, 125 degrees liquid temperature would be about about 450 psig. All right, that's if it was an R410A system. Okay, now we didn't have R410A systems 10 SEER, or else we would have been in trouble. They were R22. And that would be running you around 230 to 240 psig. I just got a 410A chart on my hand here. All right. But now let's get into the 410A world. That's when we started getting into at least 12 SEER. So now we're looking between a 15 and 25 degree rise. So if it was 95 degrees outside, we'd be looking for about 20 degrees higher than that. So we're looking at about 115 temperature, and that would run you around, design back in those days was about 400 psig. And when I did a lot of 410A training, when it first came out under Carrier, we were teaching 400 head pressure. But we quickly found out that they were running a bit more efficient than that, and I was running actually around a 330 to 350 head pressure, which puts you around 107, 106 degree condensing temperature. The higher efficiency you get, the lower that temperature TD between outdoor ambient and condenser saturation needs to be, because it doesn't work as hard. You got bigger coils, larger surface areas, and now the compressor doesn't have to pump up that refrigerant near as high, so it takes less work off the compressor. For instance, I've got a 20 SEER system in my home, and it runs a 10 degree TD or condenser split from ambient to saturation. So if it's 95 degrees outside, I'm only going to run about 105 saturation temperature, and I run around 340, 330 psig on a 95 degree day. So if you take this chart, and if you're anywhere from the high to the low end, you're going to be fine. So if you go up to a 14 SEER unit, common these days, right? And you want to know, am I running high head pressure? See if you got non-condensables maybe. That's a whole nother topic for us. Then take the outside ambient air. Let's say it's 90 degrees outside. Well, let's take the worst case scenario. You take 90 plus 20, that's 110. So I'd look at my PT chart, or look on my phone, or look on my gauges, and I would take 110 degrees saturation and then convert that to pressure. We're looking at about a 366 psig head at max, okay, at max. And you can go as low as 10 degrees. So we look at 90 plus 10, that's 100. And we're down to about 320 psig. So if you're running anywhere between 320 and up to about that 340 psig, then your normal head pressure. If you're above that, now you're running excessively high head pressure, and you got to go find out what the problem is. So with this chart, oh, and by the way, you got subcooling over here. So it tells you standard subcooling numbers. Now, let me just tell you this. Most everybody now on the side of their unit has the required subcooling for the unit. If you come to a system that's got a TXV and it does not have any information on it about the required subcooling, let's say it was modified and they took out a fixed and put in a TXV, and this straight from manufacturing for years and years, is that just nail it around 10 degrees subcooling. If you get it around 10 degrees subcooling, you're going to be fine. You're going to be pretty good charge. And then after that, check your head pressure, make sure it's where it ought to be based on the condenser temperature rise. Then check your superheat. The superheat for a TXV, not an EEV, but a TXV, should run between 5 and 15 degrees. Okay, 5 and 15 degrees. And then you can do your temperature drop and your wet bulb drop by using this chart right here, relative humidity, dry bulb, and it'll tell you what your TD ought to be. With this chart, you can determine everything about that system the way it's running. Now, where did I get this chart, you ask? Well, that's a great question. Okay, now you click on this right here. It's got calculators, charts, literature, and links. This is a free website. It's amazing. It has got some great resources, a lot I've not even dug into. You go to this here, hit research, and this chart on the left and the right, this is both the same chart. And I don't know why they've got them side by side, but got it on there. Oh, I know why. This one's got the relative humidity chart. It's kind of the way my little program works here, y'all. So you go here. By the way, they got calculators, amazing calculators, multiple charts. So if you go here, the chart you and I were looking at is on the right, and that has where it's got relative humidity. Either one of these charts will get you in the right area for airflow, for your head pressure, for your correct subcooling, and your correct target superheat. So that's efficientcomfort.net. Great resource. Go to it and check it out. Okay, well, I hope that helps you. And if you got any questions, shoot me in the comments. If you like it, you want to see more and get more notifications, once again, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you another day. Take care.